I'd like to invite Patty Corcoran to come and give us another patient perspective. Thank you, Patty. I think these patient perspectives are really important, and as you can see, the stories that are coming through, not only from these little patient perspective slots, but the reasons that are driving people to be involved with the foundation, I think are really setting the whole scene for the next couple of days. Patty.
Well, it's almost good evening to us, but I want to tell you all to sit up and listen, and it's time to wake up. Shake the place. My name is Patty Corcoran. I'm 52 years old, and I live in the world of cancer. As I once read, hope is faith reaching out into the dark. That hope shines light in the darkness as I journey forward. Hope inspires me to reach out to cholangio warriors through my blog and social media. Hope sustains me on all those days when treatments I've received make me feel too yucky to even get out of bed or get dressed. My story started 6 years ago. That's right, 6 years ago. No transplant, no resection, just pure fight. 6 years ago, I had abdominal pain, which grew too much to ignore. I visited the local emergency room in mid-February 2011. The ER room referred me to a local surgeon who ran tests, scheduled, and then canceled gallbladder surgery, recommending a biopsy instead. All this without even giving me one hint of what he thought was going on. My husband, Patrick, he called the surgeon and asked rather pointed, direct questions. The surgeon answered that he was 80% sure that I had cancer in my liver. From our home in southern Illinois, we traveled to a very well-known cancer center about a 9-hour drive away. By March 1st, the clinic doctors told me that I had stage 4 intrahepatic cholangiocarcinoma. Inoperable because the large tumor, 9 centimeters by 10 centimeters, had already wrapped around too many major blood vessels. We left that well-known clinic in the middle of the night because neither one of us could sleep, and drove home for the support of family and friends. After the no-hope diagnosis and treatment plan of chemo, I sought more treatment options from MD Anderson Cancer Center in Houston, some 900 miles away from home. And the wonderful Dr. Malin Javli came into my life. Although MD Anderson's cancer diagnosis and treatment was pretty much the same, it felt more hopeful. It was like someone opened a window and they let the sun shine in. I traveled back home with a plan. I began gym-cis therapy along with Tarceva at a clinic 50 miles away from home. My first complication came within just a few short weeks. The cancer DNA circulating inside my body changed my blood chemistry so that I developed blood clots, deep vein thrombosis, or DVTs. I had hundreds in my upper chest. I had blood clots that had occluded my left arm. I was puffed up like a blowfish. And needless to say, they took me by ambulance to a larger hospital, and I had a cardiovascular interventional surgeon in Springfield to dissolve them all. He's presented my case at many conferences because it was so unusual. Dr. Goswami and my local oncologist started climbing the difficult learning curve that managing my blood thickness is. Their first answer, I would self-inject 100 milliliters of enoxaparin sodium, Lovenox, twice daily. For the summer's remainder until an allergic reaction to cisplatin by mid-August, and then I received gemcitabine and Tarceva only. In mid-September, I started experiencing terrible headaches, which kept getting worse over the weekend. By Monday morning, I needed help to stand. The local emergency room scanned my head and ambulanced me to a bigger hospital in Springfield. I had a brain bleed, a cerebral hemorrhage. The blood thinner had worked too well, and I had sprung a leak in my head. The neurosurgeon opted for conservative treatment with drugs first because, as she told me, if she had to go in that area, I might not be able to walk again. I spent more days in the hospital as the medicine worked on me, and then some rehabilitation therapies to live normally again. The hospital discharged me, but stopped the blood thinners while my leaky head healed, and I relearned how to walk and move all over again. Without the Lovenox, my blood thickened and DVTs developed again, this time in the lower part below my tumor. So, back to the Springfield Hospital, where I resumed blood thinners on a very much lower dose, while they monitored to make sure I didn't leak inside. To this day, I am still on Lovenox. My quarterly visits and PET scans with Dr. Javli in Houston continued, but by early spring 2012, it appeared that I needed a new direction. IMRT radiation on the liver. My husband and I would begin the first of many lengthy stays in Houston so that I could have the advanced treatment opportunities MD Anderson has to offer. After 6 weeks of daily radiation doses, my whole body felt even more zapped than my liver was. I sure needed the 6 weeks rest at home before going back to see Dr. Javli for the post-radiation scan and assessment. Chemotherapy came back into my life like a long-lost relative needing money. This time, the doctors chose irinotecan. The 2-week chemo roller coaster made quite a ride. Just about the time I felt good, the ride started all over again. The irinotecan rolled on for about 15 months while I stayed stable and the main tumor withered. By fall 2013, Dr. Javli and my oncology radiologist, Dr. Doss, felt narrow beam radiation on the still active part of the tumor located at the liver's dome might produce a good outcome. So, another stay in Houston, this time for a little over 3 weeks. The treatment schedule, designed to keep from cooking other important organs close to the liver, called for me to receive small fractions of radiation twice daily. As grueling as the treatment schedule was, it opened the door for the next wonderful chapter in my story. Before I start that, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about all the other wonderful things that happened. First, I started my own blog, Patty's Journey of Faith. At first, I just wanted to quiet the rumor mills and idle gossip so prevalent in small towns. However, when my accounting of events and expression of my faith soon grew into an inspiration for thousands looking for more information on their healthcare options. To date, nearly 200,000 page views from people living in 20 different countries have visited my blog. Because this disease lurks among the least common in cancer's ugly aggregation, the information shared on the many blogs, Facebook pages, and this foundation's own site keep me and my fellow cholangio warriors informed. Within my diagnosis first year, my family and I started our own Relay for Life team, the Suntone Beach Survivors. We raised money like crazy for our small county of 16,000 population. I wrote, illustrated, and self-published 3 children's books centering on Irene, a plucky little mouse, and her adventures at home, the beach, and the zoo. Proceeds from the book went to the American Cancer Society and the Cholangiocarcinoma Foundation. My local hospital conducts a once-a-week chemo clinic. I learned from a dear friend who had been treated there that patients who arrived without food, maybe forgot their purse in the car, or had no caregiver, were going hungry on chemo days. And I knew that I could make a difference. I started the Feeding to Heal program to provide for the need. I posted a blurb on Facebook asking for donors or businesses to help support the program. I teamed up with the hospital, and they provided all the lunches for a mere $30 per week. The program blossomed so fast, I filled up the first year within just a few days, and a waiting list for the next year. I ran the program for 2 years and then transferred the responsibilities to my oldest daughter as I went to Houston for extended treatments. Local support remains tremendous. Every feeding day this year is booked, and there is a waiting list for 2018. I thrive on staying busy with my family, which includes 7 grandchildren. They made the 15 months after radiation in November 2013 so precious. Not cancer-free, but the tumor remained so stable and inactive that other than quarterly checkups by Dr. Jovley, I required no treatments. I used my time and energy to spoil those grandkids and to travel with my husband. We visited my stepson in St. Thomas, plus our own trips to St. John and St. Croix. I discovered the beauty and great exercise of coral reef snorkeling. After my stepson moved back to the mainland, we broadened our tropical touring to include Cozumel and a Sandals resort in St. Lucia. And I mustn't leave out the trip to Venice and the cruise from there to several Greek islands. Unfortunately, my indolent tumor awoke in early 2015, and Dr. Jovley suggested I consider a phase 2 clinical trial for BGJ 398. An aortal cable lymph node was growing. The trial meant another 6-week stay in Houston. I stayed on BGJ 398 for 8 cycles until they judged it no longer effective. As I waited for an arm in the NCI match program to open up, Dr. Doss determined the lymph node. We moved to Houston for another 6 weeks. After radiation, the NCI match trial did have an arm that I qualified for. I received daily pills to take at home and trips back and forth to Houston every 4-week cycle for labs and more drugs. After 16 weeks in 2016, the drug stopped working for me and the cancer had spread. Dr. Jovley recommended chemo at home, this time with irinotecan and 5-FU. I started it in September after a new and better placed infusion port was installed. It was a harsh chemo to handle, and by mid-November, a scan at home showed that it was not working. So chemo stopped, but another option opened recently. That brings me to where I am today, back in Houston. This time in the phase 1 trial for INCB 054828. I began the second cycle last Friday. The first scan won't be for another 4 weeks or so. But so far, all my labs show great improvement since I began. It gives me hope that I can keep on enjoying my life. Hope fills me and sustains me. My hope springs from my faith, but it is watered and nourished by the knowledge that brilliant people, many of whom that are sitting here today, will work tirelessly to cure this brutal disease. As I get ready for my 7th year with this monster of a disease, I will have hope that there will be many advancements in treatment in 2017. Join me at Patty's Journey of Faith to see me march each day as we pray for a cure.
You're no bystander either.